So tell everybody who you are and what you do.
So I'm the CEO and founder of Global DMC Partners.
Okay.
And we represent DMCs, independent DMCs all over the world. And I love what I do.
So I'm going to ask you to start with my question of the day. I'm wandering around the show floor today, asking everybody, with all of these destinations around the world, where would you want to eat? Where would be the first place you think you want to go eat and why?
Okay, so this is a very tricky question. There is no way I can select one destination because as you appreciate the world the way we do, representing so many destinations, you realize the diversity of food all over the world and the beauty of being able to travel and appreciate all of that diversity in those different locations.
Mm-hmm.
So and I'm from France, I'm from Paris, so that could have been an easy one to answer, but it's not because even in the States, we were just speaking about this, there are extraordinary food in certain states that I would have, most people probably don't know about. Well, because we are in this industry and I'm very lucky to be able to travel, there are parts where I would eat certain food in this state and wouldn't want to eat it in another part of the world because this is where it should be at.
Well, and I grew up in Maryland crab cake.
Exactly.
And you get people cake, say, oh, this is a Maryland crab cake. Oh, no, it's not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
All right. So you all just put out a study on the trends that you're seeing. Were there any trends in there around food and beverage with your destinations and the DMCs?
So the main trend right now has to do with budget as it relates to food and beverage. The biggest shock really is in the inflation on food and beverage and how this to some extent came as a surprise. Usually you think of inflation and budget challenges with airfare, hotel fares, etc., AV. Food and beverage, not necessarily, and yet that came up as one of the biggest growth in terms of price hike of all of the items. So that was one.
And it was already number one expense.
Exactly. And a lot of negotiations with hotel is really around food and beverage because of the minimums, etc. So that was number one. The second is addressing the diversity of and how challenging it is when budgets are limited to be able to cater to all of the different needs, whether you're gluten-free or lactose intolerant. When budgets are limited, makes it a lot more difficult, as well as sustainability and food. This is a third element where how do you integrate sustainability behaviors with food and beverage? Right. These are the main topics around F&B.
And are any of your locations, do they have not simple solutions, but are they finding ways to help their customers that are bringing their incentive trips to the destinations?
So there are a lot of creative ways. And I want to add one other trend that we have found very interesting, alcohol. And more importantly, no more alcohol or much less alcohol is a big deal. Unfortunately, not necessarily cheaper because a lot of these mocktails are actually more expensive or very expensive and very sweet. So yes, the DMCs are actually very good as an ally to manage cost of F&B as well as quality and the diversity. And the secret is knowing the chefs and having that personal relationship with the chef. The chefs, in whether you go to a hotel, a venue, etc., when you have this relationship and you give them that as a task, build a menu that's going to cater for all these needs and within this budget. Usually they will take it if it's a friend, if they like you, etc. If you're one of many and you just impose this, it's not the same idea. But if you have maybe a little more time and want to build around what that chef is good at and that he will take into consideration your sustainability goals, the different needs, then it becomes actually a really fun thing for them and a wonderful experience for the guests.
And I think that just from a DMC perspective, I'm a planner and I bring it to a destination. I don't know anything about that destination.
Exactly.
And having that partner who has those relationships with the chef and the restaurants and the venues helps a lot.
And a lot of the chefs love it so much, but they also love sourcing their food in a certain way. So there's a whole story about where that food comes from, usually around. So sustainability cost from that standpoint is a lot less. But there's also the story about, the harvesting of the food, the quality of the food. So it is more and more part of the experience that guests and attendees are interested in. And we see a lot of DMCs propose to their clients to actually put that story on the plates, right at the origin, the chef stories around this, and why this menu was prepared with these thoughts in mind.
Now, my question of the day yesterday was, because it was Smart Monday, what is one smart thing that you've seen done with food and beverage? I mean, outside of what you've just said, is there anything like a specific story about a really fun, unique thing that somebody's done?
So I don't know that it is now still very unique, but again, unique for one may not be unique for something else. But we really have chefs and some venues that do a superb job actually bringing the food on site, and where the people harvest the food and then use it. So it's not new news, but when it's done in a special way, it becomes an extraordinary experience. And we're seeing a lot of groups wanting different experiences for different age category or interest category. And being able to combine food with different expectations in terms of your audience, is actually becoming more and more of a very unique trend. So some of them will be more interested in organizing or making cocktails for it. So, but others will want to go in a beehive and harvest the honey and then use this. And then, of course, there's in any parts of the world, you go to Lisbon and you learn how to do a pastéis, but in the place. So all this seems, been there, done that, but not really when it is done by someone that cares tremendously about the quality of the ingredients, about the history of that food, and share that with the groups at different levels.
Well, and just thinking through what you just said too, it's the culture. They're allowing the culture of that country to come about and teaching the attendees that are participating.
Exactly. And there's so much more appreciation for culture when it combines both doing, sometimes just doing, but also tasting and getting the whole history around it. So again, I'll go back to Lisbon or to Portugal, but all of the cod, fish and so well, there's a fantastic story around that. It actually comes from the Viking, and so it tells you a lot more than just where you are. It tells you about history in general and how cultures have merged and created those wonderful dishes.
And you're getting your planners are requesting a lot more of your DMCs in this fashion.
A lot more. Food and beverage is a great way to integrate unique elements to the program, and something that works with most of the audiences. The majority of people are somewhat foodies, so the more you can, but it's not just the food again, it's the history, it's the cultural, this is a very hot trend for sure.
Okay.
And the DMCs love that too, because in many ways, you're going to have people that are going to show you this that have also a personal story.
Right.
So one thing we absolutely love in our industry and at Global DMC Partners is the fact that we introduce people to maybe cultures, destinations that they wouldn't go necessarily by themselves. And sometimes they have preconceived notion. I remember a trip we did to Morocco with some American clients, and there was a little, concern or tons of assumption. It was a bit hot at the time, and we brought them to a restaurant where a wonderful chef showed them and taught them how to create a couscous and a tagine. And it was her personal story too, and her personal story was a very interesting one. In charge of an entire family. And why the vegetables are done a certain way, cooked a certain way, but also how she supports her entire community with this. They all fell in love with the food, with the person, and with the country. And their preconceived notion of Morocco went away. They could relate at the same level. We all, in many ways, share the same desire.
Right. We all have to eat.
to eat and take care of each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So from the research, is there anything that your partners or your DMC partners are looking to do in 2026 around food and beverage?
So again, the cost is the big challenge. The budget is one of the toughest discussions. So finding ways to bring lovely, delightful, dishes at the price point that works with the budget, taking into consideration the different dietary requirements. And this is not going to change. This is a big challenge right now.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing, so there's a few trends we're seeing less of, those big buffet,
Right.
we're seeing less of that.
Okay.
What we're seeing is a lot of companies that invest in incentives and meetings, despite the fact that budget is challenging, do want to make sure that the quality is there.
Right.
So they might reduce other things, but on some parts of the meals, it's going to be top notch. So, and I'm sure you're already aware of that. So breakfasts,
Right.
Coupons for breakfast is becoming big time the norm. Why? Because the money is going to be spent on a lunch or a dinner a little bit more. So there's some selections that are made around that.
Okay. One final question for you. Finish this sentence for me. Every meal should
Connect you to appreciate a culture.
Okay.
And enjoy the food. Just, it's a fun time. And I think that especially today, taking time around food and around that connection that we make when we have a meal is more important than ever. The world is frightening. And being able to sit at a table and eat together, break bread together at a time like this is very much needed.
100% agree.
That was one word?
No, it wasn't even a word. It's finished the sentence. So we're good. Yeah. Yep. No, that's good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
How can people find out about Global DMC Partners?
GlobalDMCPartners.com. You'll get all the information, and we're looking forward to hearing more about you and to make you discover some extraordinary food and experiences and destinations.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Eating at a Meeting podcast, where every meal matters. I'm Tracy Stuckrath, your food and beverage inclusion expert. Call me and let's get started right now on creating safe and inclusive food and beverage experiences for your customers, your employees, and your communities. Share the podcast with your friends and colleagues at our Eating at a Meeting Facebook page and on all podcast platforms. To learn more about me and receive valuable information, go to tracystuckrath.com. And if you'd like more information on how to feed engagement, nourish inclusion, and bolster your bottom line, then visit eatingatameeting.com.